Hi guys, Next Level Fitness. So we're going to cover now the barbell back squat. So one of the first things you want to know, aside from how to get the bar out and into position, is you want to set up the bar height. What does that mean? So bar height basically means the height that the bar is going to sit before you even get into it. So what I recommend for people to do is either top or midpoint of the chest. Reason being is if you have it too high, I do see a lot of people try to set it up at shoulder height. What's going to happen is they're going to tiptoe to get out. And once they get out, they'll do their reps, however many it is. They'll be tired, they'll go to set it back in, but then they have to tiptoe again. Now, if you're tired, trying to tiptoe with weight on your back is going to be really exhausting. And what happens, you're going to miss a clip and you're going to have a bad accident. So this way, setting up about chest height. So for me, probably around there, like kind of upper chest a little bit, if you can see that right there. What that does for me is if I get in and I'm set, I stand up. I could easily then walk out with the bar. When I'm done my reps, I can walk back and put it back safely. So that is the recommended bar height when you're doing the barbell back squat. Next thing I want to point out to you guys is where the bar sits on your back. So for this, I'm going to turn around. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this on me, but if you feel back here, you'll feel a bone that kind of pops out. That's your C7. So you want to make sure that the bar sits below that C7. Whether you're doing a high back squat or a low back squat. Low back squat, you don't really have to worry about it, but definitely in a high bar back squat, you need to make sure that that bar sits below the C7. If it sits on the C7, what's going to happen over time, you're going to compress it. There's a lot of nerves that come out of there. You're going to start noticing, you get tingly feeling in your arms and your legs, and eventually just going to have, again, another accident. So, to get into it, what you do is get up to the bar, duck underneath it. You're going to square the shoulders back so it creates a shelf for that bar to sit on, making sure that it's underneath the C7. Stand up, walk yourself out into position, walk back in, and bring it down. Now, before you even begin the squat, what you also want to practice is unracking and re-racking. Basically what I just did there. So practice that a couple times, get into the bar, stand up, walk yourself into position. Don't do the squats yet. Walk back and make sure you put it back down. Now, when you go to put it back down, just walk straight into the rack. Do not start searching for it, because if you search, you get one hook in, you're so far away from the other one. If you dip your shoulder, you're going to fall. So walk right in. So again, what that looks like, set. So now I've unracked it. I've walked myself into my position for my squat. Let's just say I've already done my squats. Put it back in. Just walk straight in. Re-rack. Alright guys, we're going to move on now to the actual squat and foot positioning with the barbell back squat. Okay. Alright, so we covered a lot on the squat. We covered from box squats, we talked about the bar, getting into it, re-racking it, talked about where the bar should be placed. So now what we're going to do is actually do some squats. Okay, so what you want to do, once you have everything set up, center yourself in the bar. You're going to get under it. Make sure that bar is underneath your C7. Stand up. Get yourself into position. So again, I have a wider stance than most just because I have long legs. So you're going to instigate with the hips first and squat. Come back up. Don't worry about getting under 90 degrees or ass to grass, as they call it. Concentrate on where you're feeling the squats. So, quads, glutes. You might feel a little bit in your lower back, but as long as you're not feeling strained to the point where it's painful, you should be fine. What you also want to make sure you do, if you want to come to the front, feet positioning turned out. You want to make sure that your knees are going to be following where your big toe is. The reason you're going to be doing that is you want to open up the hips so you can drop down into the hole that it creates. So again, feet turned out, knees facing the big toes. Start with the hips, down, up. So when you come up, you're going to make sure you come up in the same position that you do when you go down, meaning you want to keep your hip open. You'll see some people, they'll tend to drop in. Keep the hips open. Once you're done, you just return to your starting position, re-rack it, and that is the barbell back squat. Alright, so now we're going to cover a couple common errors I see with the barbell back squat. One of them being they call it a butt wink. Basically what it is you try to go too low, you don't have that range of motion. What will happen is your tailbone is going to start tucking underneath you, and that's going to take you out of proper positioning. And I'm also going to cover when you're coming back up, an error that I see. Some people may perform it. This is just in hopes that you don't perform it yourself. So, starting off with that first one, the butt wink. I'm going to get into your position. Set your feet. Now, when most people think about doing a squat, they see everybody talking about going below 90 degrees. The thing about that is not everyone has that capability. That's why I say pay attention to how it's feeling. Are you feeling in the right places? But what we're going to cover is when people try to force themselves to go too low. So what that will look like, I want you to focus on my hips. So hopefully you guys can see like my tailbone starts to come underneath my body. So hopefully you guys saw that. Another error that I'm going to take a look at or show you guys is when you're coming back up out of the squat, which you'll see a lot of people do. Instead of coming up in sequence, they go into their squat, and they shoot their hip back and they'll stand up. Go into their squat, shoot the hip up, and stand up out of it. Again, it's going to add a lot of pressure on your lower back, and eventually that weight's going to get heavy. You're just going to pitch forward. So you want to avoid that movement, get the chest to fire up, and everything comes up in sequence. So maybe move right there. So go into your squat, whatever your depth is, come up in sequence. Come up in sequence. Guys, hope you enjoyed that instructional video. If you want to see more, we have next video right here. If you want to get in contact with me, setting up a personalized training program, or just want to ask any questions, my contact information is right here. And if you really like the channel, please hit subscribe. We'll be trying to post more videos up every week. Hope to hear from you guys.